Let's not start the podcast off that way.
In your shirt, babe.
All right. Welcome to the Damaged Goods podcast with your hosts, Ill Vibe and Jess Robert. Do you love blank, but hate it when it blanks? Then you should try Blank, the only blank that allows you to blank while you blank. Blank helps you while using the most up-to-date blank technology and is loved by blankers all around the world, including myself and Ill Vibe. Blank, the only real way to blank.
You nailed that.
Do you get what I'm trying to do there?
I absolutely do get it.
Okay. So if you would like to be blank, contact us and sponsor our podcast, and we would love that.
I would buy it. Whatever that is, I would totally buy it.
Right? I'm a pretty good blank salesperson.
From the sounds of it, I already do buy and enjoy it.
Yeah. So thanks for listening. Do us a big favor and support us on whatever platform you're listening on. So follow us on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, add us to your favorited podcasts on whatever app you use. Just do the thing. You can check us out on socials at Damaged Goods Pod, myself at 4Jess Robert, and Ill Vibe at Ill Vibe. Thanks as usual to lyricvids.com, the web's #1 lyric video animation company, providing recording artists and bands with dope content since 2015. We have a very special guest in today. He is a legend in the Canadian hip-hop scene. He's the one, he's the only, Danio.
Yeah. What's up, guys?
Got Danio in here. I love this.
Crazy. Thanks for having me come through, man.
Welcome to our weird
yeah, it's different.
little space that we have.
Yeah, it looks good, though.
Yeah, it's really cool. We have one rule here on the podcast when we started.
Oh, yeah?
And it was that I had tried doing a hip hop podcast before when I was a little bit younger. And it just, as much as I love listening to hip hop and like being around those people, having those like a hip hop themed podcast is a very specific thing. And so we went the other way.
Okay.
We went immediately booking our improv friends and trying to have it be a different thing just to give us this different voice and opportunity.
So Damaged Goods could be about anything.
But
with anybody.
Yeah, everything and everybody. And that's what that's the thing is now that we've got this like wall full of people who came through, that's when you can start breaking the rule, right? That's what they teach you in English school, in English class. Like once you learn the rule, and you can learn the appropriate times to break it.
Yes.
And today was the appropriate time to break the rule. Is what I'm getting at.
Yes, and the appropriate person to break the rule.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, that's cool.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so for people who don't know, I know one thing is we travel quite a bit, and so I think some of our listeners are from all over. And you're a Canadian hip hop veteran icon. When I was quite young, I listened to your early material, and then as I came up, it's like he was just a staple of somebody that you would know and listen to. And there's really only like 20 or 25 staples in Canadian hip hop, so you really know those people and you always pay attention to them when you're young and aspiring. And then there's a funny photo of me meeting you when I was really young and you still had the dreads.
Yeah.
So he's just, again, somebody that I kind of bumped into over the course of my career. And then what's really fun and interesting is that you entered my life at a point when I was trying to make this like big level up. I had like this wacky plan, and I was certain a wacky plan.
Yeah.
And I was certain it was going to be like my leg, my foot up, my leg in, what's that? My leg up, my foot in. Yes, I got it right. Into like the music business and like the rap scene. And that was my grandma had passed away and she left me some money and I was going to buy a camera and start shooting music videos.
Oh, wow.
That was like my like plan. And I remember I told Mo Little's a guy who I happened to know a little bit outside of music and inside of music. And he was just like, yeah, that seems like a cool way to do it. But it was just this like, I think that way I've got some value to offer and then get me in the conversation. Cause that's the biggest part is even getting people's attention. Right. And then, so I said, I'll pick 5 people and I'll contact them and offer them a music video. And then I'm hoping that at the end of those 5 people, then I'll know enough people that maybe I can get paid to do videos or I'll be doing something else. Like who knows? Wow. And then so you were one of those people.
Yeah.
So I reached out to you and Promise, Perfect Strangers.
Yeah, well, I remember when you hit me up and you were talking about doing the videos, I was in the middle of that particular project because I had a solo album. Like obviously I was doing solo work and I had a new solo record on the way, but the Perfect Strangers was the one that was either just about to pop or already came out or whatever. And so that was like the project to do. And you blessed us, man, because what was kind of cool is that I've always kind of liked to have like a very hands-on approach to the videos I do, like what images I portray, what the stories are. I used to like writing the stories for the videos, and I think we had already done a few at that time, and I was like, pick a song from the album. We didn't even have one planned. We didn't have, we were like, are we done shooting videos? We didn't even think about, and you chose a record called Love Again and came up with like the concept, the whole deal, put together the shoot. So yeah, no, it was a good experience for us because it was a dope video.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, happens to be the final video appearance of my dad, who was in a video. Like,
that's right, I remember that.
He's done work with me and my brother, who's also in entertainment.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that's kind of a cool thing now. I mean, everything I'm rocking today is in tribute to my father. So yeah, thank you. Like,
I remember, I remember that. I remember your dad being in it. And
yeah, I remember. Well,
you gave us the talk before he got there. It was like, my dad's coming.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I remember, just remembering now, talking about it, man, that the song had to do with love or a lack thereof in a lot of our most important relationships. And the song tackles 3 different relationships: love relationships, like romantic relationships, relationships with your boys, and then the parental child relationship. And that was the 3rd verse. And I remember talking to you about the different people that we would need in the video to portray the different characters or whatever, and how the 3rd verse was about my dad. And I remember our conversation like, yo, so we need someone to play your dad. I'm like, I know who could play my dad. My dad.
Yeah.
And what was really dope about that song, or that specifically that video, is that video shoot was representative of my father and I having put our sort of negative past in the past. Sure. He was cool enough to play himself in a video where I'm speaking out against the kind of shit he was on at the time that I was writing. So, you know what I mean? So, you know, yeah, I've always been like, even at his funeral, I was vocal about we used to butt heads, but thank God that relationship had been more than resolved by the time he had passed. And so it was kind of a big deal. And I didn't know at the time how big a deal it would be, but it's kind of a big deal for me to have had the opportunity to write a song commenting on that relationship, but also have him portray himself in a video where he can play his former not so cool self, because we were that cool by that time. So
that's a full circle moment.
It was a full circle moment. And just in case you didn't know, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And you helped to make that happen.
Very cool.
It's a very cool backstory.
Well, that's probably the biggest and best thing that came away from that weird idea about getting a camera and trying to get in that way is I made a lot of relationships, and some bad ones and some weird ones over the years when you meet 1,000 people a year shooting videos, but it introduced me to some amazing people. I met you and I met Dio, and I'm pretty much everybody that I love and that's around me came from something that spilled over from that idea and the tree that came from that idea, you know? And that's what's cool about the music business. In a lot of ways, it even led to this, because if we hadn't done all those things and thought that you could just build a tour from the ground up and then execute it, so we start watching podcasts and become addicted to it. It's just like you start reverse engineering what you need to build one of those things,
No doubt.
For you, the other thing was acting, right? So you went from music to acting. When did you do that? Like, was that early while you were?
I believe I got my first talent agent in 2003. And honestly, it was just like spillover from music, in music, we're talking about music videos. I've been shooting music videos since I was 19. So I've acted in music videos. And I also dabbled with it in school because I was like getting drama class awards and stuff. I did, little skits and plays and things like that in school. My brother was actually part of my high school's improv team, and they were a Canadian championship team. They had won whatever the tournament is that they had each year. I was invited to be part of the team, but in the 90s when I was in high school, I was recording my Dear Hip Hop material, all that, my earliest material, and I was so focused on the music that I didn't want to focus on anything else. It wasn't until obviously a little later that I thought focusing on acting isn't taking from the music. It's part of the whole, it's all performing, you know what I'm saying? So, in and around 2003, I decided to get a talent agent. And so I started auditioning and just not even getting any formal training other than what I had done in school. But everything, like, I had the dreadlocks at the time. So like all of my auditions were for rappers and DJs. It was all like I was stereotyped into this is what you look like. And I came to understand how the acting world works a little bit differently than music, because music, you can kind of be whoever you want to be and represent you. But when you're acting, you're playing a character and you got to sort of fit who that character is and all that stuff. So yeah, it wasn't until 03 I got my first agent. I was doing commercials and all that stuff. And even with the dreadlocks, I shot my first film, Anything Goes, in 2011. So I still feel like I'm on my come up and on my grind and on my paying dues.
Yeah.
But after the haircut, which was right before the Perfect Strangers album, so we're talking about 2012. So.
The haircut's epic too. It's like Busta Rhymes level epic. Because like, if you came up in Canadian hip hop, that's the thing you knew him for, is he was the dude with the dreadlocks. If you were talking about him to someone who maybe didn't know, that's like the third thing you'd say.
You had to go light skinned guy, dreadlocks.
Yeah, and like,
but it was a crazy.
So when he cut it off, it's a big day because it's like your signature thing is suddenly gone. You know
what was interesting about the dreadlock cut too is like, see, Dear Hip Hop, how most people know me from the night. I didn't have it dreadlocks. Like my hair was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I didn't have it.
Okay.
I grew it basically around that era. Is when I started growing it. So if you check the Dear Hip Hop video, there's no dreadlocks. You check the Dear Hip Hop album cover, there's no dreadlocks. So I grew them pretty much near the end of the 90s and throughout the early 2000s. And for me, what was epic about the eventual haircut was I had gone through, whether you're just learning about me now or know about my career already, a lot of times when people ask me how I've maintained a sense of longevity in this music, I always tell them, like, because I think I've had like 2 careers, not one. So it's not like a fluid, linear career. I never quit, but I kind of felt like, man, I got a little bit disenfranchised with the game.
I had a moment like that too.
Yeah, we all do. It's like it's almost like that cocoon. Like I gotta change.
Yeah.
And in and around the early, like 2004, 2005, I put out my second album, and I was just like, hip hop was changing. What was respected in hip hop was changing, and just everything. So I took time. I started my own podcast. It was called The O Show, that had a like pro wrestling and MMA base.
That's right. I remember this.
Cool.
My dude, Big Daddy Donnie, and I were the co-hosts of that. So I started living out dreams that
when was this?
So this started in 06.
Wow.
And I never.
So MMA podcast, you were like one of the first ones.
Yeah.
Listen,
and
if you
I
had
was
stayed with it, you might be Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing. We were a little bit ahead of our time. Like we eventually had a setup like this, but when we first started, we didn't. It was like one mic in our bedroom's basement. But what was cool about it is I started living out dreams I never even knew I had. Like I interviewed everybody from Hulk Hogan to like every other name that if you know wrestling, then you would know these names. And then I got involved in the business. I actually trained. I had already trained for a music video years before.
Yeah.
And now I was like calling commentary at live events and like acting as a bad guy manager and getting beat up.
That's great.
And I'm like, I never thought I would do this, but I started doing that. The acting, as you know, kind of came into play. So all of these things that I was doing in entertainment was my way of, I'm not letting go of the entertainment game, even though this hip hop thing is not going how I'd like it. But it just brought me back to what I loved. And that, of course, was the music. And by the time the Perfect Strangers album rolled around, that was also something I never planned and I didn't grow up with Promise. We kind of connected same way you connect with everybody else in this game.
Yeah.
And it was like, yo, it's time. New music, new image, new everything. And then, of course, it did help my acting career because now I'm going on auditions all the time for like Dad, and the Uncle and all that other stuff. And it's just built and grown since then. So, my third feature-length film, Life Changer, just came out on Blu-ray and all that stuff. And went on a worldwide festival tour. And it's been good. Like I just keep building and growing.
That's so cool, man.
But you do have to change. You do have to stop. You do have to reconfigure your career so that you can restart it in a new way and keep it moving.
So I have two different things I want to talk about, but I think one's interesting. So the other one's interesting too, but I think one is really interesting.
One's boring,
So I talk to so many people where they're like, oh, I want to take the first steps that will put me in a position to do what you do now. So whether they're coming from music or comedy or whatever, or just, regular civilian life. And they're like, hey, what I was thinking of, like taking those first steps so that I could act. And then they never know what those first steps are.
Yeah.
Obviously you can't give it all and it's not that easy, but what would you say are the first steps for somebody who's going, that's where I'd like to be. How can they orient themselves to get themselves to be in a position where they could appear in a film that is on Netflix or on a Blu-ray or whatever.
I wish I had a clever answer like what you give when people ask you how to get a blue badge. I wish I had one of those, because those are very entertaining. But the truth is, you kind of even said it, man. Like, the path is different for everybody. One of the things that even got me back to like writing heavy and, you know, this whole hip hop thing is because I remembered what I loved about it, and that was just I love doing it. So when I stopped focusing on the parts that I hated about it, a lot of the things that we don't have a choice, like we're in this business and you run a business and you're trying to make money. So you got to think about that. But when you come into it with the perspective of I love doing this, I'm not going to say it's easy, but your path is made clearer because you know that no matter what happens to you, you're not giving up. You're going to do this. You're made to do it. So the first thing I tell people is like, how much do you love this shit? Because if you're in it for some, I hope I get some money out of it or some props or I just love to be in a movie. Sounds like a cool thing to do. It's just not the game for you.
Yeah.
I've had this question, and I'll give them the literal steps. I go, first thing, you should probably get headshots. Get a professional photographer to take some headshots, like who knows what they're doing in the industry. That's going to run you. You might be lucky with about $400 or $500 after a good shoot and prints and this and that. You know, you want to locate an agent. You might have to audition for talent agents. Some talent agents will just want to see your headshot, any work any experience. So, you know, compare you to who else is on there. So I started explaining just the literal steps to take. And for some, you should take some acting classes. You know, shouts to Maestro Fresh West.
Those are 3 good steps.
I was acting for a few years, and Maestro, as you know, was acting. Shouts to Maestro's birthday.
Yep. Oh, it is his birthday. That's right. Yeah.
I remember the first ever manifesto. He's like, "Did you take acting classes yet?" I go, "Nah." He goes, "Take acting classes."
Okay.
I took acting classes, and I started booking more. And it's not even just that I understood acting better, but there's a certain confidence level. There's a certain just understanding of the game, like understanding that when you walk into a room, your audition's already begun. How you interact with the people in the room, even how you doing, how you say your name, how you slate, certain things, like the small things that become bigger deals as you go along and learn.
I'd imagine that being surrounded with other people doing the same thing too could only be a good thing. Because it's like, if you're just going into auditions by yourself, no acting lessons, it's like you have really nothing to base it off of. You know what I mean? Like, you really want to be able to like hear feedback from other people and work with other people.
And
you
got to be willing to accept that feedback. If you're a person who doesn't like to hear constructive criticism or doesn't, all you want are pats on the back. Like, this is a job where the majority of the job interviews you go on, you get turned down for.
Of course.
So
vast majority, right?
Vast. So I couldn't even tell you what my booking percentage is. It's good because I'm regularly working, but that means I might be doing gigs like monthly or whatever. Whatever the case may be. I go on auditions maybe on average, sometimes 3-4 times a week, sometimes more than that. Sometimes it's daily. Sometimes I've done 2 or 3 in a day. So you're always trying to work for somebody.
You're pitching constantly to get that trickle of work.
Absolutely. And you know, you may not get, you feel like you could kill that audition. You don't know what they were looking for. It could be everything from your look to what you don't know.
100%.
So if you're not in this because it's like, if you don't have a nothing's going to stop me attitude, I'm going to go for it. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to accept feedback. I've had people come. I auditioned once for the director of the Dear Hip Hop video. It was in Ontario, like a Yours to Discover Ontario tourism commercial. And I remember being in there with some dudes, and it was some improv. I can't remember exactly what it was, and I made them laugh. And he because he knew me and I knew him, he took me aside. I think he called me, and he's like, "Dude, I so pushed for you to be in that commercial. You killed that audition, but they didn't want dreadlocks in the commercial." So sometimes,
there's just there's no knowing that.
There's no. Then this is like post dreadlock, a whole other scenario, a whole other commercial. Thankfully, my relationship with the director, he took me aside. He goes, "You were just a bit too urban for them." And I'm like, "What do you mean by urban?" Because I didn't even have dialogue. The whole thing was you're supposed to pretend or act like you had driven your car into a garage, but your bike was on the rack on top and you forgot. So you fucked your bike up because you hit the garage. So come out of your car and notice what you've done. And somehow, I don't know what
you did it in an urban way.
My urban response, like whatever that was, but You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't remember going, yeah. Like, I don't know what that meant.
Your fingers were a little too spread.
I maybe
you had rapper hands. You might have had rapper hands.
Maybe I did a b-boy stance. I don't know. I couldn't remember. But I love that he was able to, instead of being offended, I was like, I gotta be conscious. Maybe because he even told me, he goes, look, I know you as Danny-O, and I kind of saw Danny-O in there. I just needed a guy to look at his broken mic. And I'm like, thank you, man.
Yeah.
Like, I did need that. So the different small things you need to be conscious. And again, it comes back to this point. Like, it's constant work. It's not like I just do this for a living. I'm continually growing and learning. Even with the music thing, man, I continue to grow and learn and want to do better. Like, my latest record's way better than the previous. Like, you gotta feel that way about your craft and know that it's not guaranteed the paychecks, but you're going to work to get them. And that's, I think, the best advice I could give to anybody who wants to be in this game, acting or otherwise. You know, you better love this shit enough, because it's way too much work for maybe the pay you hope to get.
Yeah.
If your heart's not in it.
Yeah,
you know?
Totally.
It's a wise words. I'm currently going through an existential crisis of my own.
Really?
Just like, because it's realizing that what it is to be a professional entertainer of any type, whether you be just like a content creator and YouTuber, or it's a comedian or a podcaster or a photographer or a producer. These are all entertainers of types, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a type of that. It's a constant juggle, not a profession. It's like, you never really get to
Okay, I'm done.
the safe spot that you think you might get to. It does not exist.
Well, that's a good point, because a lot of people use the term making it. Like, I want to make it in the business. And I think so many people use that term as if making it represents an end all be all. Like, I've made it, so I'm set. I either have enough money or enough fame or whatever the case may be to have made it. When it's funny, even today I saw Ryan Reynolds in a commercial, and I was like, it's interesting. I mean, this guy is an A-list Hollywood celeb, but he's still doing commercials. So for whatever reason that he chose to do that commercial, he's not even Samuel L. Jackson's doing credit card commercials, or has
right,
so their reasoning I can't speak to, but I know they don't have to. Like, they have enough money, they have enough fame. Like, they literally don't have to lift a finger for the rest of their lives. I'm sure they're good financially. So while I don't know them personally, I can guess that they love their craft enough to continue to want to do more and be different and do different projects. And, you know, it's like certain celebrities who have really interesting Instagram accounts. Like, Will Smith, for example, will offer certain types of advice, or you know, like uplifting, motivating. I just saw something the other day where he's like, you know, I want to check off my bucket list. I've never done stand-up comedy, so apparently he's giving that a go. And I think it's a social media based endeavor that he's just doing for so
I'm surprised to hear that Will Smith's never done stand-up. I wouldn't even imagine
you'd almost
that.
think
it's like
that,
he seems like a stand-up comic.
But he was rapping when he was young,
the
and
fresh
then he was on TV, so he never really had a chance to go put in the time to be a
that's
stand-up
not what
comedian.
he's known for.
I'd imagine
you
he'd
know?
be able to slip into
I
it
think-
pretty
I think-
well.
I think
Because like his
he'll be
cadence and
good at
everything.
that.
I think he was getting pointers from Dave Chappelle.
I saw something about this.
Right.
It's a web show.
So, you know, that's the thing. So they could say they've made it.
Yeah.
All the main names I just gave, they've made it, right? But they haven't stopped.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes too many, you know, that people's impression of making it is like they've reached a point where they're set. And I think to be a true artist, to be an entertainer of any kind, sure, success means you've made money doing it. But if you ever feel a point where you're satisfied with what you've done, I question how much of an actual artist you are, because there's always more to make.
Yeah.
There's more art to create, regardless of what it does for you professionally or, you know, financially. There's more, right? And to me, making it is the ability to say, I've been doing this, I'm still doing it, and I get a joy out of doing it. So while, yes, I earn an income, I love this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love, write my next, do my next show, do all of that. And I'm not finished because there's more for me to do. You know what I'm saying? So where he can have still, you know, Will Smith and these guys can still have things that they haven't accomplished yet that they want to. Shit, man, we're none of what's making it then?
Yeah, that's a whole other level of like,
of course,
where they're just not willing to give up, and they've got a lot of life left in them, and they want to discover new things and not get stale. And I agree with everything that you said, but I guess the other side of it is that I think at the same time, because with response to you, I don't struggle with the desire to keep creating. I have that innately. It's like I wake up and I want to go to the studio and try making a neo soul thing, and then a weird funk thing, and then I just don't stop. I've got a million of those. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I want to do sketch comedy. I've got a million. So that part, I think it's almost broken. It's like a pathological like creativity and ambition. So I've got that. Yeah. But the part that I'm struggling with is this. I think where the internet is and where technology's going and where social media is and where you watch this like next generation and how they create content and how they digest content, things are being redefined at such a rapid pace. I often think that my peers have not fully digested how different things are than they think they are. Do you feel me?
And it's like they're going to be
because like and then if you even project a little bit ahead, where we're going is essentially that everybody is putting music on Spotify.
Yeah.
Where everybody. Yeah. Think about the implications when everybody is putting music on Spotify.
Right.
Who's listening?
That's a good point.
We're running out of solely fans. And I actually think from a human species standpoint, it's probably a good thing because we're all creating and connecting. It's for the average person, their life is richer if they're singing and sharing that with their loved ones. Right. But it does take away the thing that I grew up wanting to be, which is the guy with the big fucking conch shell or the microphone, which is egotistical as shit. That's the thing that is upsetting me so much. But I grew up thinking I was clever and funny and make good music. Yeah. And now that I'm here and have actualized it, I think the world is like turning into the butterfly of everybody's a comedian.
No doubt.
Everybody is a photographer. Everybody's a podcaster, which is beautiful, but is a tough pill to swallow.
No, it's a good point, man. You know, I'll bring up an analogy. When I was in the wrestling business, and I still got tons of friends who are in the wrestling business, one of the things I learned, and it's interesting, like the parallels between pro wrestling, which is entertainment, and like even say music, which is a lot of these guys are independent, and the idea of making it is being signed to WWE. So now you're on television and you're one of those guys. But these guys still travel and hustle and sleep on floors in the cities where they're
kill themselves.
Maybe they beat themselves up. They're in the gym regularly, but their matches, they could get injured. They're making small amounts of money. But the point is, they are supposed to be special. They're all supposed to be different. They're supposed to have almost these superhero personas in the various characters that separate them from the audience, who is the people who paid the money to come to see them. And one of the things I learned in being a part of the business is, as like the wrestling promoters of these events, I have heard promoters admonish workers, some wrestlers, for showing up and being, say, in the crowd before the event or hanging or whatever, and making the point is like, they paid money to see you perform. You're not supposed to be one of them. Like, you're supposed to be larger than life, because in pro wrestling there are a lot of characters. We grew up knowing that there were heels and baby faces, bad guys and good guys, you know, heroes and villains. And if you're a normal dude, that's why they're, you know, the persona, the outfit, the voice, the interviews, it's all to create this character. So you cannot be like the people watching you. And I thought that made a lot of sense. You have to be that guy who's not sitting there chatting it up after or before your match. You're supposed to be in character from the beginning to the end of the show. And at the end of there was a time when pro wrestling had, like, bad guys and good guys couldn't travel together. You know what I'm saying? Like, they had to keep up their persona off of television so that if anyone saw them in real life, they're like, aren't you guys supposed to be at war right now? Like, it was that big a deal. And what's interesting about what you're saying and why I recall that is because, it's like when everybody is on Spotify, when everyone's releasing shit, like, and you know me, man, I'm old school. So like, when I first put out records, like, we're talking about actual records. We're talking about CDs and cassettes. And now Spotify requires no specific printing of a project. So, or neither does YouTube or SoundCloud or anything that's digital. You press a button, you're streaming. So you can play my song just as easily as his song. Doesn't matter that mine was mixed and mastered in a big time studio and his was his bedroom. We're being consumed in much the same way. And there's no separation from the superheroes and the fans. You know?
For sure.
And it also it's hard to discern between, you know, the real quality and the, you know, versus like what is the criteria by which you can upload something to, say, Sound or even Spotify for that matter. Like, do you have to get it professionally mastered? Like, I don't even know, you know what I'm saying? So
You
like,
don't.
And now
BT dub, you don't.
exactly.
Yeah.
And now on top of that, you have a streaming service, which of course I see the benefits to, right? Like technically we all have worldwide distribution via this app or this platform. But what you don't have is the fan that you mentioned, fan, like the fan who, like, I'm a fan. So I knew who I was going to the store for. I knew that I wasn't going to like buy lunch tomorrow because I need that money for the new Nas tape or something like that. And that's literally like how it was like voting. It's like, I'm putting a stamp down saying I support this record.
Sure.
Now, and I thought about this when I heard someone talking about it. It's like, now your vote or your stamp or however you want to perceive what a stream entails is so different, because you could have someone go, yo, that new such and such track is garbage, guys, so whack, you should hear it. I'm like, okay, I'm curious enough to give this a
100%.
stream because it's so bad. And I wouldn't have bought that CD using back in the day how I would listen to music. So
it's a great point, though.
It changes a lot in terms of just like what deserves this type of recognition or the number of streams or what you would compare. We've even chatted it up online about my disagreement in referring to an album sale as X number of streams. I just think they're two different metrics completely. So yeah, it's changed a lot. And while it has given, so I've mentioned my whole double career, like started one career, ended it, started a new one. Part of this new music career was like understanding, like, bro, it's different now, guys. You know, I look in the mirror and go, dude, it's not the same thing, man. Like, I'll be real, I'll be so transparent with you guys. Literally over the past year, and you probably know this from some of my posts, I learned Spotify. Like, I've been on Spotify via my old distribution deals, which just inevitably generated to those platforms. So they've been there. In the past year and past half year, I've actually established my pictures and bio and like understanding, oh, Spotify is, I have an account, you know, like, dude, you got to get it. Yeah. And I didn't. You know, so like that. And you got to humble yourself and go, hey, man, you know, I'm from the old school. So now, you know, it's picking up some steam and I'm getting it. And I'm also appreciating it. Like, there's music I listen to on Spotify. I haven't thrown out my turntables, though. Sure. You know what I mean?
No,
Can they gel? Can they work together? Do I plan on putting my next album out on vinyl? Yes. But I'm not going to discredit the fact that you really got to push on the platforms where your music is most likely to be heard. I spoke at Ryerson University a couple of weeks ago in a class. And I straight asked the group, like, where do you guys listen to music? Like, who's Spotify? I'd say somewhere to half of the students put up their hands. Apple Music, iTunes. The rest of the hands got put up. Anyone here play a CD? One person, and two people admitted to having turntables and enjoying vinyl. As a university class. So to me, that was like, this explains what if you haven't learned yet, you're in trouble.
And even like all the HMVs closing down and
HMVs closing down.
Is there just Sunrise now? There's still Sunrise.
And
right?
it's Sunrise is,
which surprises me.
It's taking a different role. They basically said, since HMV went out of business, because what happens when I was blessed enough to have my album distributed nationally in HMV right before they closed, which is like one of my bucket list items that like nobody,
you got it right,
like nobody can take that away from me.
For sure.
They literally went out of business with my album on the shelf. You know what I mean?
I know. I remember when we were on the road and we walked into the store and
that's
saw
right.
it. Yeah, no, it's a great feeling.
And then
man.
6 months later,
fault,
they were not. I did it.
Oh, you destroyed HMV.
I was the straw that broke the camel's back.
It's you, dude.
Because not that many people bought my album, so I think they just even having that like 87 copies on their books just put them over. They're like, we can't do it anymore.
You know what though? I honestly, maybe they don't care because they never felt it. I'm talking about the new generation, but I kind of feel sorry for those who will not have that feeling.
Yeah.
And it's not even on their bucket list to have that feeling.
Yeah.
But I can definitely speak from experience when I say when the Rap Essentials album came out in '96 with my single on it, and they pressed CDs, cassettes, and vinyl. Everything I ever knew to be how you get music.
Yep.
And I was on there. I shit you not when I say I would put that needle and look at this thing rotate for the 3.5 minutes that my song played and was like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, that's
totally.
what I've always wanted to do. And that feeling that, you know, it's been a while, but I've still, my last one, Inevitable, came out. I saw it at like Sonic Boom and certain stores that still carry. I'm like, cool. Like to have a Daniel section, you know? You see
sure.
it, Ill Vibes, like, yo,
cool.
my name's on the piece of plastic.
Yeah.
Like you live for that. And that's gone. There is no, these are, they don't even know that happened.
But I think
let alone to feel great that could be you.
And this isn't, and it's not, this doesn't only apply to music as well. It's literally all like consumable art.
Sure.
What happened is this, because they have a thing. They have that exact thing. It's just this. They make a song, and then everybody their age all over the world is listening to it at the same time. And that's what they wanted. And they found a new thing to fixate on. And what I think it is we sit in a unique position because you a little bit more so than me, but both of us, where we lived in the previous ecosystem and then the new ecosystem. Right. And I think there's a lesson to be learned here. And what it is that it's like a yin yang situation where now there's more access, more distribution, but the more distribution has ruined the party a little bit. Sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
If alcohol's always free and it's given everywhere, then it's not as cool.
Exactly.
It's like
everyone's drunk and it's not cool.
That's how the economy of things works. So if there's a million movies to watch and a billion podcasts to listen to, and every day a new rapper releases a new album, that means by sheer value of like math, every other artist is now worth less than they were before. And that leak has been going on for 20 years. Just leaking new rappers and podcasters into the pool. And we're not creating new fans at that same pace. It's the same people ultimately consuming. You know what I mean?
It's also made it near impossible to get new listeners anyways, I would think, to ingest a project from top to bottom, because streaming is such that you don't have to lift a needle, you know what I'm saying? You're not pressing stop and rewind, and you're certainly not having to insert or take out a disc. So the ability to change from one song to the next, one artist to the next, it's so easy. And also these platforms are created to have playlists on there so that you're not really necessarily even encouraged to listen to an album, but an artist who has put out an album, you'll listen to a playlist with that artist on there, and then artists like that artist, and maybe 2 or 3 songs later, you'll check out something else. So it's like, I'm curious to know, I don't know if this is a way to even conduct a survey, is how many people, newer listeners to music, are playing albums from start to finish.
I don't think many.
You have lots of songs that have tons of streams, and then the rest of the songs on the album don't have many at all.
Some of my best records, like I did a song with Socrates. It's a great record. It's one of the least streamed songs on the album just because of where it sits on the album.
And it didn't get playlisted.
And it didn't happen to get featured. It's why I'm focusing on singles this year. Right. Because there are great songs that just Spotify only considers one. So if there's 12 on an album, 11 songs aren't even considered. And the reality is, like, another one got playlisted and it did like 24,000 streams in a month, which is great. And then Heart Say didn't get playlisted and it's sitting below 1,000. And that's the difference between the playlist or not.
Exactly.
So unfortunately, from a business standpoint, I've changed everything about my release structure because 1,000 and 24,000 and 24,000 so far, because today my most streamed song isn't my newest song, which is weird.
Right.
My third oldest song is getting more streams daily than my newest song because of the playlists it's on. So I'm in a really listen, I rarely come out at this podcast from like the jaded, like with technology place.
You've been having a week.
But the algorithm is such an interesting beast because I'm about it. I get the positive. I actually think there's something really, really good for the world, that it's not about creating celebrities anymore, and it's more about sharing. I get it. I'm about it. But being an artist at the like a slave to the algorithm is messing with my head.
Slave to the algorithm.
It's messing with my head a little bit huge. Because I made my best song of my career, and people are sending me videos of them singing it, and they love it. And then Spotify just didn't pick up on that one, and that's just so weird. It's fine even. Like I can handle an L, but it's weird how the L is handed to you. Where it's like I think nobody even listened. I think it's I didn't kick the algorithm from the boxes I ticked or whatever.
I still think,
you know what I mean?
I still think there's a way to look at that where it's not necessarily an L, because I'm still, like I said, I'm playing catch up.
Overall, it's not an L.
Well, this is what
commercially,
I mean by
it's probably an L.
But that's the point. Is if you're looking at it solely from a commercial standpoint,
I'm not looking at it solely
like,
that way.
That's still kind of like, I'm still bucket listing wanting to do a record with Socrates. You know what I mean? I would look at it like, this is a check regardless. This is my record with Socrates.
100%.
And also, because of the way that it works today, old songs are new, bro. Like, we talked about Perfect Strangers off the top of this. We just put that out on Spotify in January because when it was released in 2012, that wasn't a medium we were thinking about.
Yeah, totally.
And now it is. So now you know. So, and on top of that, even my last album, like, bro, like I told you, playing catch up over the past year. My next single, to me, it makes me laugh. But I get it from the standpoint of what we're talking about with respect to algorithms, streaming, and how it works. My next single is Rap Essentials. Rap Essentials, which is on my last album, has been out for a year and change.
Sure,
it's been on Spotify via the album that it's on, but the single isn't out. So now we're putting out the single, so you can now, and I get now when people start, if you start shuffle playing me, if I end up on like certain sounds like the Rap Essentials may pop up twice because it's on the album and now there's a single. And so I started recently realizing the benefits of putting out a single, which is a song that's already out.
Sure.
And now all of a sudden, maybe this is lower down on the album in terms of number of streams. I'm going to start getting streams for a song that I really like, that I think deserves it, that is old, but new to new listeners. So if you have only 1,000 listeners to your favorite song, that's new to anyone who's never heard it.
Totally. Yeah.
And I stopped caring. I stopped caring a long time ago about a lot of like opinions and stuff like that. I do get, monthly listener streams, what it says. But there's a lot of people who will check for an artist and look at that number alone and go, he ain't nothing. You know what I mean? And it's like, listen, you guess what? If you're that kind of listener, so be it. Maybe you're not the listener for me anyways. Like press play. It's like someone saying, I'm not going to eat that. Did you try it? Like you're saying you don't like it. Reminds me of my little girl. Like, but you didn't try it, baby. Just give it a taste. And now she likes shit she didn't want to try before. And that's one of my biggest things that keeps me motivated in this business is there are new opportunities for people to try my music, including my old albums that you may have never heard. I think it's the weirdest thing, and I appreciate the introduction, but it's like every time I do one of these, any interview, any show, you name it, hip hop legend, icon, all this stuff, and I'm like, it's funny because there's so many people who've never heard of me. So depending on who you ask, I'm a legend. Depending on,
totally.
Who's he? Now, all I want out of this is for that opportunity for that person to go, who's he, and have that chance to press play and go, either I don't like it, but at least you heard it, now you know. You tasted it, you gave it a try. Because I'm mad confident that if certain listeners, certain types of fans of music, if I'm given the opportunity, you're gonna like my music. And that's what keeps me going, is that I can make new shit out of old shit. It's funny, like, again, this Perfect Stranger, now 7-year-old album, and we're getting love that people didn't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
For sure.
No, you're right.
One thing that I always think about, especially when it comes to this podcast too, is to be thankful for what you do have as far as viewership goes, because sometimes we'll put something out. So we put it on multiple platforms. So we put it on YouTube, Spotify, whatever, iTunes.
The podcast?
Stitcher, Facebook. We download the video to SoundCloud.
Dope.
So sometimes I get like bummed out because I'll look at the views, like let's say on the YouTube video, and they're low or whatever. But then when we add them all together, let's say there was 500 and something listeners, and I'm like, if I had 550 people in a room listening to me just talk, that would be amazing. You know what I mean? Like that would be such an accomplishment. So I try to think of it like that too, where it's just like, of course we want our views to look good and our likes to look good, because you want that person to go there and right in the beginning they're like, oh, this is something worth listening to. Unfortunately, that doesn't always happen on each individual platform. But when you look at it as a whole, it's just like, wow, this is really special. And
no doubt,
I try to be thankful.
I don't struggle with gratitude. I think I do a pretty good job of staying in a gracious place. But it is. You know what it is? I think my emotional responses are like reacting to the new reality of what I do. It's like when you're releasing content constantly online, like this is a flip side. Jess and I talked about this. I put out a single a month now instead of the album, which is great because I have more shots at playlisting, more release times, more love, etc. But it's also more no's. You know what I mean? It's more heartbreak. It's more chances at an L. It's more it didn't land and it didn't work. And so it's just like it's hard. It's hard to live in a world where you need to nonstop keep putting out art, keep promoting it, keep talking about it, and then because the response from people is always great, because you're always going to have the people who mess with your art up front going, yeah, more.
Right.
And I love those people fucking forever. I'll make it for those 60 or 160 people forever.
Yeah, no
But, you know, I have this fucking computer in my pocket that has a big red button that says, no, didn't do good.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's
feel
like
you.
flashing in my pocket, and I can't help but pull out the Spotify artist app, and it's just like, no,
there's pieces
it
of me
didn't
that
work.
There's pieces of me that do that too, man. But I'm with Jess on doing my best to side with the response you do get.
Yeah.
You know, it reminds me of when I was coming up in the game as a kid, man. Like this long before Dear Hip Hop, I'd be doing all kinds of shows, like club events, opening acts, a lot of free, like not getting paid, just trying to get on type of stuff.
Yep.
And listen, we've all played empty events, empty venues, and I'll never forget this one. I was in high school. Actually, I wasn't playing this event. I was just showed up.
Sure.
This man, real heads would get a laugh out of this. I think the artist's name was Ingest, and he had a song called Warrior's Sword. I might be wrong. Don't quote me on that. He was Wu-Tang affiliated, but not in Wu-Tang. But he just had this.
There's a lot of guys like that.
Wu-Tang-ish type. But yeah, we're talking about like maybe early 90s.
Sure.
Anyway, supposed to do a show in Toronto. It was the first and only time I seen this. Went to this club called Spectrum, which old heads would know about. It doesn't exist anymore. On Danforth, on Main, not far.
Yeah.
Anyways. King Just doesn't show up, so what they do is they put a cat on stage. He wore a hat, had a towel, like a face towel, so it's kind of covering his face, and they played his record, and he, basically lip synced the record.
No.
And dudes were like, yo, that's not King Just. And I wasn't totally sure. I kind
Were
of
they
was
trying to pass like it was?
completely tried to pass him.
Oh my God.
Niggas were throwing. They caught up halfway through the song. They were throwing their bottles of beer. It went
I
down.
kind of love the balls of just putting a towel on someone's face and trying it.
I don't know. Maybe somebody out there listening to this might recall that. I have no idea, but I don't know who the guy was. But here's what I remember is both. I think he got off stage and the promoter came on, and I can't remember what King Just reason was for not being there, but he started sort of lambasting the audience for being y'all in Toronto don't know what time it is. You're not supporting, and this is real hip hop, and y'all, because it was an empty house. And even at my teenage years, I was wise enough to know, motherfucker, we're here.
Yeah,
it's the people who ain't here.
Hey,
who
you're
should
yelling
be-
at the supporters.
You're yelling at the supporters
because other people stayed home.
because other people. And further to that, what you're
I love
clearly
dumb people so
what
much.
you're clearly not doing is maybe taking some responsibility in the fact that you maybe didn't promote this shit very well, maybe your shit, and you also tried to pass off a phony,
Which I think is
on
the far
audience
more
who should-
notable thing that just happened.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I've heard other artists, like, again, we've been on the road a gang of times, done a gang of shows, and I've seen artists get on stage and not get love from the audience and then shit on that audience.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I do songwriting teaching for a living too. So I bring artists into the studio, I get them prepared for the stage, launch parties and all this stuff. And I say, listen, excuse me, it is your responsibility to entertain your audience.
Yeah.
If they're not into you, that's your fault. Okay?
100%.
Because listen, I grew up in the Screwface capital, so-called. I grew up in Toronto listen, I've been on stage, I couldn't tell you the number of times, and I've always found a way, somehow, some way, to connect to my audience to the point where maybe you're not even a hip hop fan. I've had moms and dads at like these outdoor festivals come up to me. They're not into hip hop, but they liked my performance, and understanding that what you're doing as an entertainer is to entertain.
Sure.
You're not going to come off with this attitude like you're mad at the,
They should
the
know
people
who you
performing.
are and
Yeah. So I also take that attitude in with me when I'm thinking about the streams I get versus the streams I don't get. I can't be mad at the people, those
totally.
500 people listening to you mention, like, thank you 500.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not even like fuck the rest of y'all. It's like I got work to do so that the rest of y'all will join this 500 and turn it into 1,000.
Totally.
On my new album that's like due later this year, I start off one of my songs by going, I'm not that social media savvy. Obese with these raps, but these people keep treating me badly. I'm fiending to grab the attention of more than 1,000 views in my first week, but it hurts me as if Jesus has stabbed me. Because I don't get that many. Like, Daniel the Legend is not pulling in tens of thousands of views on YouTube, and I'm okay, man.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
I get it. So I'm not so absent-minded that I'm like, you know what? We don't need to pay any attention to the streams and the numbers. Who cares? I do understand. I do pay attention. But it's not going to make or break my energy towards what I do, my love and my passion, because there are fans out there who are the people listening, buying, respecting, showing love, wanting to take pictures, calling me a legend, all that stuff, and live for it. Still. It's a great feeling. And this is the feeling I was talking about. Seeing your CD on the shelf. You know, there's so many equivalents to that. We've been on the road and done shows. People want autographs. I don't care if I sold one CD that night. It felt good to do that. And I put that above the rest of the CDs I put back in the box. You know what I'm saying? I'm not letting this make me feel bad, man. Because you know what? I was here tonight when a lot of people from my era and all that coming up in the game. I don't know what they're doing right now. But they got work in the morning. You know what I'm saying? I'm playing another show. Honestly, like I don't know, man. When I hit 40, I think that's when it really clicked for me. Like, who gives a fuck? Without being so absent-minded that you're just going to do this frivolously.
No, you don't do it blindly.
You don't do anything blindly.
No.
You know, like I told you, I'm learning my Spotify over the past year. I'm going to invest more in certain spots than I would in other spots. I get it. But I'm not going to let it dictate the way that I operate. Same thing you said
with the acting too. It's like, why are you getting into this? And if you say, "Oh, I'm getting into it for the views," it's like, you're going to have a bad time then.
And if you're going to go, if you're going to listen to anybody who has the attitude that, you're 40 and you haven't made it in Hollywood yet. They don't understand this business. There's so many of us. You could move to Hollywood and live in LA, and everyone you bump into, from your cab driver to the waiter who brought you your water, is an actor and in this business who, quote, hasn't made it, but you don't know their life. You don't know what they're going through, and you don't know what they've been in. There's tons of people who used to be on TV, and people go, whatever happened to, well, you know what? They've been playing Broadway for 20 years. Did you know that actors are not just on television? Like, I've done... there's a lot in the middle people don't know about. So often we talk about when you're trying to go up, like whether you're an actor, comedian, like you're trying to get bigger, you know, that metaphor of going up, you know? When you start, you think it's like a mile, and then you're going to be up there amongst the stars. Right. And then as you get going, you realize it's like 1,000 miles.
And the middle in the middle, big.
A lot of these heroes of yours, as you start going up, you realize they're somewhere in the middle. Totally. They're not as high up as you thought they were. Absolutely. Because you get somewhere up in the middle, and then you say, oh, okay, so Drake's still way the fuck up there, and like these dudes are. But actually, as I look around, a lot of people I used to buy tickets for are in this echelon of... Totally. And we also, because of what we talked about in terms of the streaming and easy access to shit and ability to consume and jump from one thing to the next, we're very much in a world of what have you done for me lately. So you put out a hot record, but 100 other people have also in the past month. So until your next such and such comes, what's the big deal about you? That's the same with the last movie you were in or the last anything. And you might not have known that since that last gig you saw that actor in, they've done 10 other jobs. You just haven't seen them. So it's your impression that they're not doing it. And that should not take away from the actor's self-fulfillment or feeling of self-fulfillment that I am a working actor. Regardless if you've seen, I couldn't tell you how many commercials I've shot. It's north of 50 for sure. I don't know. Sure. And I haven't seen most of them. You guys haven't seen most of them. Didn't mean the paycheck didn't come though. You know what I mean? You saw most of those. Sure. I saw all of them. Right? Yeah. So, you know, if you get into this, and listen, I knew I wanted to be in entertainment at 5 years old. I wanted to be Michael Jackson because Thriller came out. Now that was set. Not becoming Michael Jackson, it didn't stop me from eventually becoming Danny O. You know what I'm saying? Totally. You can't. Who can be Michael? You know what I'm saying? So understanding the game is like your concept of making it, becoming big, like you said. Whatever that means to you. If it doesn't mean I get such a fulfilling feeling doing what I do. And I happen to earn an income, so I got a place to live and I eat and I wear clothes. You know, then this, again, it comes back to that question. It's like, it's not for you if that's not good enough. Because I'm not telling you not to shoot for the stars. I'm just saying, like, enjoy the ride. Enjoy the process. Yeah, totally. What's the end game? Like death. That's it. It's only, there is only ride. Yeah, that is it. There is only ride. It's just a ride. Yeah, well, because if your impression is I'm gonna make it, and it's like I've made it. Yeah, it's really hard to. It's hard to internalize this stuff because I know these things, and the reason I'm continuing to dwell on this is because I think you're a great guy for me to talk about it, and I think this issue I'm having is the same issue
a lot of artists eventually confront, where they confront the why they do it. Because when you came up, you're watching your heroes and it all seems magic, but then you start doing it and it's not magic at all. It's a well orchestrated dance.
Totally.
And some of the romance rubs off when you start doing the dance year in and year out. You start planning that next release. And so the closer you get to it, the less magic pixie dust is on the thing that you were going towards. And so I think I've just hit a threshold where there is no more pixie dust. I still love it. But all of the romance for what I saw when I was 13, I see through that now.
And but in a way, it's good for you. It's like it's
a cleansing in a way.
It's almost like chicken pox. Like we all got to get it. And then once you get it, okay, I've been there and done that. I'm not gonna need medication for this.
That's sort of how I feel. I feel like I'm going through something and then I'll be fine once I process it.
No, totally. It's like the cocoon metaphor I had earlier. You'll fly out of this and be like, because there's things that I look back on now, right, that I could go, oh man, like if I could go back in time and talk to younger me and go, bro, like stop, you don't worry about all that, man. You know, because
I got a lot of notes for young Ilvi, bro.
Exactly. Listen, this is such a comparison industry, right?
Existence.
Your whole like, again, with the whole views thing, there's never been a time, and I'm talking about being a kid, forget being in this game. I have never enabled someone else's opinion or impression of a artist, or for that matter, charts, determine who was the best. I just never, like, that's why I'm not big on award shows. Because, like, my favorite records don't get nominated. And I used to be the guy who would be vocal, like, this is bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I don't care, man. You know, when Q-Tip went on the rant, when the last Tribe album didn't get a Grammy nomination, when they had performed at the Grammys the year before and tributed Fife, who had passed the year before, I remember going, bro, I don't know Q-Tip, but I'm like talking out loud to his Instagram feed going, bro, you don't need to get that mad. You're motherfucking Q-Tip from a Tribe Called Quest. You don't need the Grammys validation.
That is,
and of all people,
Q-Tip is the Grammy.
Dude, you're fucking Q-Tip. And of all people to reference, Fife himself on, was it Award Tour, said, I never let a statue tell me how nice I am. So, hip hop also is that culture. It is that thing where it's like, fuck your awards. Where this hip hop, man? Like, I grew up in an era as a kid where, MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice were the biggest. They were the biggest superstars in hip hop. And there was never a moment in time where I thought they were the two best. Another Fife reference. God bless you, bro. Vanilla Ice Platinum? That shit's ridiculous. Like he said that on the Scenario remix. So hip hop has always kind of been in this place where it's like, your validation doesn't matter to us. We know what hip hop is. You can tell us Hammer and Vanilla Ice or we're talking about the early 90s. But what are we doing now? There's movies like Straight Outta Compton that show us how legendary NWA is. Now they went platinum and all that stuff. And of course, Dre, Cube, these guys are all big and well known. But the point is, dopeness was never defined by Billboard charts, Grammy Awards, and that kind of thing. And here we are in this new world of like his views versus my views and streams versus his streams. That stuff doesn't sway me in terms of what I think is dope. It's just never. I remember being in line for a concert once. I'm forgetting which concert it was, at the now RIP Cool House or Government, right? Which doesn't exist. So I was in line for a concert, and I'll never forget this. This might have been a decade ago, hearing a debate in front of me. And the argument was, who's better, the Roots or G-Unit? And the guys on the side of the Roots were going, are you kidding me? These guys are like full of talent. All the instruments, the Black Thought's this ill lyricist. He based it on the merit of the art. And his opponent was like, yo, but G-Unit's selling X number of whatever it is. Like, so your impression of someone's worth or greatness.
Is that two things that people compare usually?
That particular
like
argument
G-Unit and the Roots? Oh, really? I haven't heard that one.
I haven't heard it either. But that particular debate was etched in my mind because it was the very essence of, to me, the bullshit that as artists, we have to learn to overcome. There's going to be, if I'm going to come into this thinking, listen, I'm the best rapper alive. So if anyone gets into an argument about who's better, throw one out, Tekashi 6ix9ine or Danio. and then you're going to use streams and views and all that stuff to define your answer.
Yeah.
Why am I going to get mad?
Yeah.
Like, it's such an insane conversation.
Well, streams and
have.
views say something, but it doesn't say that.
Yeah.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
If the answer is who's the better rapper,
Sure.
that's not how you find your evidence.
So I feel like the takeaway is just to figure out what the metric is for you.
What is exactly? What's the metric for you? What are you in this for?
Yeah.
What do you get out of it?
What are you
Over
in it for? What's your? Because I'm sure it's multiple things, but what's the one?
It's definitely that's just it.
Yeah.
The one, and that's a way you ask that question is important. What supersedes what? There's several reasons.
Sure.
Right. The top of the list. I mean, now the top of my list is always my daughter.
Sure.
So that entails.
And let me ask. People always say that. Yeah. I'm never gonna have kids. I love children. I don't want any. But so when people say, this is all for
you're in on this with
yeah,
me?
she's in. She's in. We love children. We just don't want any. So when you say, first and foremost, always her.
For sure.
What does that mean? You want to make her proud? You want to have a story that she knows later? What do you think? What does that mean to you?
It's a good question, and it's all of the above.
Yeah.
Like, my next album is dedicated to her, inspired by her, and it's all about being a father. I could never make an album about that if I wasn't a father. Sure. I hadn't had this experience before.
Sure.
So, part of making that album, it's funny because it's equal parts. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Mm-hmm. And I hope this is my biggest record yet because it's my best work and most important thing and da-da-da-da-da. Like, it means so much. But what means more to me than that is if my daughter can accept this in her life as part of not just my legacy as an artist, but as her father, to go, my dad did that for me. Like, it counts for something. Like, you look around, I'm looking at your walls and stuff. There's a reason why you have things, memorabilia, stuff that either you did or stuff that inspired you or you love that you dig, because it's representative of something important that either inspired you or whatever it is.
Sure.
And I can only speak from a perspective of a father. Obviously, you don't have firsthand knowledge, but all I can tell you is, like, there's nothing that compares.
Yeah.
I'm wearing this jersey in part because, not in part, my father was Spanish. Mm-hmm. I represent him. I cheer for the team. You know what I'm saying?
So, like, lineage is really important to you.
Lineage is important. I do a lot of tributing and honoring in a lot of my music, so that's big for me.
Yeah.
I also found a way, as I've been saying throughout this podcast, yes, this is part of my career. I do earn an income still doing music. I earn an income teaching hip hop, acting. So all of my income, and I'm a writer. So, like, the arts and entertainment umbrella, as you guys have successfully done too, is where I earn my money. So having to be smart about the way in which I go about things is clearly up there at the top of the list of why I do this. Mm-hmm. But it falls underneath the love I have for it, the passion, the need to say this in this song. In this particular case, all this stuff about my daughter. And there's a fulfillment, One of the things that, like, I most appreciate about you is having put me on the road with you, because that's my favorite thing about hip hop, or my world, my hip hop world.
Yeah.
Rockin' mics. I love being live on stage. Mm-hmm. It's so much fun for me that, not necessarily guaranteeing a specific dollar amount. Like, these are things that I'll handle, but it doesn't in certain cases. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
like,
do.
You'll play certain shows. All that.
You make exceptions.
Same thing with features, right?
Yeah.
I got people I've never heard of say, Danny, I want to do a feature. I say, hey, here's what I've been charging my whole career. I don't turn up the money, but if you think I'm worth it, and I've been paid that.
Yeah.
Then I got people. Some of my students who are no longer kids. They're grown adults, want to do a record with me. I'll throw half price your way. Or I'll do. What can you? I'll work with you, because part of this is actually a good euphemism for, or I guess example for what I'm saying here, is part of this is my career. It's never lost on me that, listen, you think Danny-O is worth something to be on a record with you or to be on a stage with you. Here's what I believe I'm worth, or what I've gotten before. It has to be worth it to me to say, either you're gonna pay me this much, or you're gonna pay me not that much. Is it worth it for me to do? Who are you in relation to me? And also, what does it do for my career to do this with you? And do I want to? At the end of the day, is this going to be fun? Mm-hmm. Am I going to enjoy this? Or is this going to be shit? I've done shit shows that I know I've been paid well, and I'm like, oh, I hate the venue. I know. You balance.
Promoters in your face all night.
Yeah, you're juggling. And so at the end of the day, worth it is all, we all determine our own definition of worth it. Mm-hmm. But for me, it is that healthy combination of, listen, I've been doing this a long time. I'm a grown-ass man and a father who has priorities. So what am I going to do here? There have been events and things I've been invited to or asked to be part of, and my response is, I have my daughter that night. And that's the truth. That's more important to me. Unless you're talking about, here's what I need you to do, and here's the sum of money you're going to be paid for it. Now I will make arrangements for my daughter's care because this is my job. And I have to be, and this is eventually, it's hers. Everything's going to be her. So it's that healthy mix. But like I said, at the top of that mix is, man, do I love doing this. And if I don't love doing this, I will not do this. That's what it is.
What about you? So just in terms of the metric, because like when would you, because I think we've established there is no making it. So what happens what happens for you to be that you're like, I'm successful? Yeah, I guess, I think that's the thing that you're most excited about right now.
Yeah. I think like the feeling that I get after coming off stage when it goes well, and equally if it goes bad, I have an equally bad feeling. But when it goes well, which more often does, it's like the feeling that I get coming off stage.
So that's your motivating factor.
Yeah. So when I think about it realistically, and I do sometimes have to like talk to myself with it, because I definitely have what's it called, of grandeur,
delusions of grandeur,
where I think about, I really want to be like Whitney Cummings, and I would love to step out at that stadium and have the big version of that where there's just like thousands of people. But I think that if I kept going for as long as I could and that never happened, that I would still be glad that I did it, for the feeling that I get when there's 50 people in the audience. You know what I mean? Like,
so. And I think you did the same thing. So I'm curious if you have a different answer as well. I think there's two different things. One is like the fuel that goes in your gas tank. Like, what is it that makes you want to go and do this?
Right. And
then the other thing is, what's your metric for success so that you feel like you made it over a finish line and you take a deep breath, you exhale and you go, okay, I did something. Like, so I'll tell you, for me, because I was a poor kid, it's that I'm every year make more money than I made the previous year, and much more than my parents ever made, doing what I love. That's the thing that allows me to go to sleep every night.
For sure.
Because when I come sit down on my couch and we bought a new coffee table that we're excited about, and we bought it with money we made from art.
No doubt.
So that's the thing. Money doesn't matter to me. Like, we've been friends. I never talk about money, but making money on the thing I love to do and not having to sacrifice and do a job I don't love.
Absolutely.
Because I was never good in a hierarchy corporate situation.
For real.
And being able to transcend what I thought was a reasonable income while having fun, that's everything.
Totally.
That's why I'm satisfied. That's why you don't see me manically chasing things, because I've got that.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. Is that your guys' thing, or is there a different thing? Because for other people, it is about the recognition. It is about the respect. It is about the notoriety. Yeah, those don't. It's not about that as much for me. I think a little bit, but the money thing is like, yeah, man. When I started making money at the art, I relaxed in a crazy way.
I can't lie and say that it's not the notoriety too, because remember I texted you instantly the other night when it happened.
Yeah.
I walked by somebody after a show, and they were like, "Oh, that's that Jessica girl. You should listen to her." No, they were like, "Oh, she's really good." It was after I went up, and then they were like, "You should hear her podcast too."
Right.
And this is a conversation I overheard, and I was just like, there's somebody talking about me in a conversation that I'm not in.
Right.
And they're saying good things.
Yeah.
And like that feeling
that is a
was
rush
so good.
too.
So it's definitely
absolutely.
it's definitely the notoriety as well.
Yeah.
But on a small level, I think I could still be satisfied with like the small notoriety, you know what I mean? Rather than need it to be this huge
Does it feel
thing.
more like it's the money, like it's the make a living on it and prove it that way? Or do you think it's more the notoriety and respect? Which one of those things feels like it makes your soul like pop a little bit when I talk about it? You know what I mean? Because if you talk to me about making $20 million next year on my music, bro, you will see a different hop in my step versus if I suddenly had 20 million people talking about me. I think I would feel that, but it wouldn't hit me as hard.
It's different. There's no question. Those are two different feelings of glee.
Yeah.
You know, there are two, but they're not the same thing, but they're equally valuable in that, you know, if you had lost that feeling, like maybe if you made a 20 million, you're not going to be mad at $20 million.
No.
But if you lost that feeling, and you know what, we all know artists who have, actors, people in the game who turn into complete dicks, you know, just tons of stories from all kinds of people. I don't know what they're in it for if it's not the money. And maybe that reflects in their attitude because maybe they don't get that rush. Maybe they don't care whether people like them, dislike them. It's like the paycheck.
I think that's real. I think some of them lose the rush. I think that's real. I think they're never going to say that.
I'm sure plenty have.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to hear you say that because that I'm telling you, like, I haven't lost that.
Yeah.
I have not lost that fire. It's changed and grown, and I'm more mature in the way I handle stuff. So in other words, I'm not just making music, as you said earlier, with like no focus or, you know, you got to have a smart approach to what you're doing. So for example, if you happen to have a bad night, hopefully you're in a place where you can go, here's what I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to change this part of my routine. This bombed, this killed, and you grow from that.
Yeah.
And we got to grow from everything that you do. So in some cases, it's almost a good thing, like to have a bad show, to put out a bad record, like you learn from that. There's tons of stuff I could. You brought this up. I've heard you go, Book of Daniel's my shit. I'm like, you know much shit on that album. I just, I was a kid, man.
Yeah.
And I'm not mad at it. I'm not embarrassed by it, but I've certainly learned from it. And that's from people saying that they like it. But at the same, again, and this is a pre-streaming era, I think that must have sold at best a couple thousand units, actual physical.
I think I bought it 3 times.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, again.
Did you lose it? Or
no, because I remember I bought it because this is the thing I've to share it with Daniel is like there was a minute of my life where I was like a pizza delivery guy / like weed dealer. That was like my thing in Barrie, and so for like 4 years that was me. And so I would burn CDs out, or I would like. I'd say sometimes burnout, but other times just burnout in terms of like my girlfriend didn't take good care of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, oh fuck, I liked that one.
Yeah.
So then when you see it again, you pick it up. That was like, that's the thing at that time. Like
That's
same
dope.
thing. I think I bought the album I bought most of my life, the CD was Meth and Red Blackout. I bought it like 7 or 8 times.
Really?
'Cause people would steal it from my car, or my girlfriend would leave it out and then it would get rings on it. And
That's incredible.
My whole raspy rap voice, I don't even really do anymore. But the thing that I did for many, many years, because now actually I still make music. I just use my real voice. But it comes from Method Man. For years, I idolized that fucking guy. So yeah, I bought the.
But 2 things. That's an interesting thing that you just said, that you've decided to like drop the raspy voice, because as he's making and releasing music, he's growing.
Yeah.
And there's so many people, man, who like, oh man, trust me, it breaks my heart because there's so many artists that I know and have worked with are crazy talented, but they can't get over themselves to even release something for fear of the negative feedback that can come. Versus going, maybe putting this out is what's going to help me grow to become the best artist ever, because maybe the negative feedback is what I need or could help me, or I could learn from that. Maybe I didn't realize. I don't know at what point you decided.
Well, you're describing my whole career, because I released a lot of subpar material and learned a whole bunch.
Dude.
I'm a late bloomer and I'm okay with it. And I'm in a good place now. But yeah, I'm that guy times 10. I had a lot of really mediocre material released early because I didn't know. And also I was coming up with the internet. So I was releasing material without really having a grasp on, I was essentially publishing it. You know what I mean? I was just wanted my friends to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, here I am publishing it to the world, and I wasn't really ready. So I think, especially local hip hop wise, it took me a long time to like convince people to listen again, because I was the kid who put out poorly mixed, poorly produced stuff too early as a kid, and then I mean now I went through that and evolved into what I still if you listen to my new stuff, it would still sound like what the Ill Vibe you toured with, just evolved into a more musical, more musicality.
I have evolved, man. I'm listening, but I'm in the process of mixing right now. We're about a song away, so I'm getting, that feeling, that end of the tunnel. You see the light at the end of the tunnel feeling.
Yeah.
And I wanted to speak to what you're saying, Jess, about like the feeling you get just overhearing one conversation, because I still get that feeling. I'm like, yo, man, one more song, and it's like I'm listening now. Sometimes I take hiatuses from listening to my own shit, like when I record it, and I won't listen to it for months. Come back to it. I'm hoping my fresh ears will like it. Sometimes my fresh ears don't, like, oh no, you got to change that. I'll change this, change it. But now that I'm getting to the end of the line and I'm able to listen through to it, listen through it and love it and be like, yo, I got it where I want it. This is beautiful. And I start really grasping how much, in my opinion, it's so much greater than the last record I did. Being a father has changed me, obviously, in a lot of ways. But as an artist, I'm like, yo, this is so much. My hope is you could even hate how I rap, like in that same exact song that I quoted myself in earlier. I think I start the second verse by going, some say this type of rap is out of style. I say they out their minds. Maybe I'm just in denial. Maybe I've just kept a vow to a relationship that's been in its grave a while. Speaking about my relationship to hip hop, this whole music thing, like, am I old school? Like, all these opinions are not taking away the feeling I get listening to a record that is just so. It's I think I quoted that song twice in this podcast because I feel like it's my best written work. Of my career. Is just it's
what's the song
honest.
called?
The record's called Worth All the Hurt. Okay. And and I've never even, this first time, like, this record's gonna, we're almost done, but I've never even talked about it before. And my daughter is worth all the hurt and pain and everything I've ever gone through to be doing what I'm doing. But more than that, the song doubles as it's worth all the hurt, like what I'm doing, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't know if you remember everything you've ever gotten, all the amounts of money you've made doing music. Like, I couldn't tell you what my first show that I got paid, how much of, but what I can tell you is I remember what it felt like being at Wasaga Beach one year with my boys and hearing a car go by blasting Dear Hip Hop. And I thought maybe it was us, and it was like complete strangers. I'm like, that was crazy. It's similar, that good, those good, like, I got a rush. No one paid me. I just heard someone else playing my music, and enjoying what it is I have done. Again, I get that rush when I play a show, and you've obviously been there, so you've seen it. Sometimes it's a small crowd, but it's a hype crowd, and there's energy in the building and a feel good vibe. And here I am, having made more money off merch on this venue with just a few people than the venue that's packed, where too much people have too much shit going on. So they're not maybe really coming up to me, taking pictures, asking for autographs or something. I learned this when I was on tour with Choclair for Rap Essentials, going back to, like I said, the first thing I ever did. We played this restaurant in Banff, Alberta, and we did sound check while people were eating, and they were pissed. Like, what are these motherfuckers doing? And I was like, what are we doing? The stage was as big as a bed. It was small, and people were eating. I was like, this is weird, bro. The dopest thing about it was the stage was set up by this big window, and outside the window are these fucking mountains because I'm in Banff. Never been there before. I'm a teenager. I'm like, this is amazing, but this is weird. And now I feel ways. We left after sound check, and when we came back for the show, obviously the place had cleared out all its tables and chairs, and it was set up for the show. And because it was a small venue, it was packed, bro. And this was the loudest, most raucous. I'll never forget that. It was so dope. So I've stopped judging books by their cover. Stopped worrying about the city I'm playing in, the size of the venue, the people who are there. All that stuff is kind of part of what you're going through in terms of, you're going to play an audience, maybe that same exact routine that you felt didn't work, you smash it somewhere else. But you might not you're probably not going to do the exact same routine. You're going to better that routine and combine with.
You are going through that right now, right? You're doing, you're like, I nailed it, but it just didn't, and it worked, but it didn't work quite as much as the other place.
And it was like 2 nights later, and it was almost like word for word, and both venues were downtown, both about the same size, and one it did great, another one it didn't. So
you need those lumps, man. I've learned from, I've done shows. Listen, I remember playing a Canadian Music Week show, and again, empty. Which was, I won't even get into. That's how those shows in the 90s, any hip hop event that was put on by non-hip hop entities, straight up, those of festivals, garbage, empty rooms. Okay. Anyways, played it. This was so bad. I went on stage and the mic went out, speaker. It just, like the shit wasn't set up right. The sound man wasn't doing it. Whatever happened. It was the first and only time in my career where I started a show and had to stop and get off stage so they could fix shit. And when I got back on stage, I did the next 2 songs were freestyle about how shit the whole thing was. And for I don't know, the handful of people who were there, I drummed up a conversation. Oh, that was cool.
You made it memorable,
Made it memorable where I could be talking to you guys about it. So to me, the point is, coming into the business, as I'm sure you already do, there's going to be ups and downs. You're going to have to take those lumps or those L's or whatever you want to call them. This record didn't do so good. This got next to no streams. This one blew up. I don't even know why, because this record's better than this record. You have no idea. I've left auditions ago. I flubbed that. I'll never forget I did an audition for Oh man, it's a Leo Vegas, I think it's called. It's like a Swedish-based online gambling thing.
Okay.
And Matt Sundin, former captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, was part of it. So that was cool.
Yeah.
And the audition was, I'm a waiter in a restaurant. The line was, good to see you, Mats, or welcome back, Mats, I think it was. And the director was like, I'm just going to make you do it 3 times. So the first one, it's a bar and grill, very happy, very high energy. Sports is on the screens.
Yeah.
The second one, we're going to do a classy restaurant, and the next one, whatever you want. But let's see 3 and flip them up. Now I've been doing this kind of shit for a while. I've done acting class. I know where the perspectives, things to think about. I think I said, welcome back, Mats. The exact same fucking 3 ways. And I don't know why. Welcome back, Max. Welcome back, Matt. I didn't change shit. And I left the audition going, cussing, you asshole. What was that?
Yeah.
What? Like, I was embarrassed. They booked me.
The end of the story is
It worked.
I met Matt Sundin.
Nice.
I don't even know if I've never seen a commercial, whether I'm in it or not. All I know is, it can be okay to be your worst critic. Get better at what you do. Mm-hmm. And even when you're great at it, you can make mistakes. Man.
Sure.
I'm the Dear Hip Hop guy. Most people know that record and love it. I've made bad records since then. Mm-hmm. So just because I made some legendary record and everyone doesn't mean everything I
doesn't make you bulletproof afterwards.
Best
right?
thing ever.
Yeah,
for sure. I've made better stuff that people don't know. Because Dear Hip Hop's the best. Trust me, I've made better records.
Yeah.
Do you get mad at that, or again, it's this whole industry. It's a ride, like you said. It's nonstop. It's ups and downs. Maybe it's a corny cliche. It is a roller coaster, and it really start singing. But it really feels good when you come up, though.
Yeah,
and you can't come up unless you've been down. That's where you come up from. So, bro, that's my whole attitude towards this thing, man. And it's
therapeutic. I appreciate the perspective.
It helps me.
You mentioned briefly just like big shows, small shows, and judging a book by its cover, and that triggers something in me that's really interesting because, like, I love performing as well. I've done festivals and small shows, and the best show I play is none of the big shows. Like, I played Hip Hop Camp, which is a festival in Czech Republic I always wanted to play. But the thing is, I'm so obsessed with like the economy of how this art shit works, because you get there and you realize because it's so big, you're worth less in that place.
Right.
So like I went on before Chris Brown in Croatia, 5,000 people, basically all doing do we know who this is?
Right.
I don't think I know who that is. Do you know who that is? I don't recognize him. What did they say his name was?
Right.
My whole set. They didn't leave, but they just looked at me like, who's that guy? Yeah. Because that's what happens when you go on before Chris Brown for a bunch of festival goers. But meanwhile, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, it was like 8 Mile where I couldn't get off the stage because there was too many people packed in the venue.
People hanging off the ceiling.
And it was like a fire hazard, which is the greatest kind of show you can fucking have.
Yeah, I dig those.
You know
that
what I
was
mean?
Banff for sure.
And so it's like, there really is something there. And I think there's... The takeaway for you going in, because you're at the beginning, we're varying degrees at the other end of starting to perform, is sometimes the small ones, even if it is like 16 people and they're dying, takes you further ahead than the big gig that you wish they'd consider you for.
Yeah.
Because they can put you on that gig and you're the fucking cigarette break act.
Yeah.
And yes, it is. The resume is useful, but once you get 2 or 3 resume items, you know this, you run out of space on your resume.
Yeah, totally.
Like after I opened for a couple of acts, I was like, where else am I going to put the names? I'm not going to list 16 people I've opened for. Yeah. So it just bumps another name off your fucking list, and you realize the resume part expires pretty quickly.
Yeah, you just need a
those
few.
moments where you had someone like spit their drink up, there's no social media notification for that.
Yeah.
There's no metric for that.
Yeah.
Totally.
But it's ultimately the thing that you're chasing.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking hard to put that in your brain. Because it's the same thing with you, right? You talked about a stream doesn't mean you love it. I jokingly even said someone could retweet you and be like, look at this idiot.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I got 100 retweets.
Yeah.
Are they all, I love this man, he blew my mind? Or a bunch of them like, oh, he got this wrong, LOL. And I mean, I think that's more of a thought experiment than any actual reality that you're getting 100 you're an idiot retweets.
Yeah.
But the metrics don't say what you often think they do emotionally.
Right.
It's such a good therapeutic session. I'm just going to listen to this podcast whenever I got
This
one
is
of
the
these,
one you need.
when I have one of these weeks.
But I'll tell you, like I said, it's if you have that good feeling, like what you described earlier, and it reminds me of a bunch that I could talk to you about. Keep that going. That's the fire that you just that's, even if it's an ember, just keep that burning, because you will do, as we've probably both done a gang of times, shows where you either don't get paid just a little, or there are opportunities for you to take the next step, and you will take those steps. What neither of us or nobody could guarantee you is like how big you'll become, how famous you'll be, how much money you'll make. But only you can guarantee if 20 years from now you're still a working comedian, right? Like, no one told me that in the 90s, that when you're 40, you'll still be doing this and you'll be way better than you are now. Forget the streams and all that stuff that didn't exist. It's just like, do you see yourself in this for the long haul? Is it you? Right? Like, I am intrinsically tied to being Daniel, because there is no me without loving music. I was the kind of kid who would get stickers on his homework from teachers with musical notes and stuff, because they knew I was a music kid.
That was your thing.
Every show and tell was a record. You know what I'm saying? My daughter just started show and tell. She's brought in 2 toys so far. She tells me, I brought in records. Like, music is so tied to me, or I've been tied to it. It's who I am. So there's no separation. And so I don't know that I ever thought this anyways. Like, there was never any quit in me. Even when I said that I quit, like that hiatus I was never left. I couldn't leave, because you know who you are. So whether you heard that, I'm glad you heard that conversation, excuse me, but whether you heard it or not, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you know just what you're made for. What is you? What gives you that fulfilling feeling? Whatever it is, you know what it is. You know what it is for you. Yes, we both do music, but we have our own different reasons and different ways we've gone about it, and the different things that we value. You know what I'm saying? So if you have that, you're in good shape, because, like I said, I've worked with tons of artists over these years. I also teach, and the artists that I've worked with, I can see the difference. The ones who I've done records with, who are still working today, I could see that there was a particular type of fire in them. It wasn't just about the notoriety and stuff. It was like, man, I love doing this. I can't not do it.
It's like a compulsion, right?
It is it's a great way to put it. It is a compulsion, because it's almost like, I don't know about you guys, but like, I keep thinking of how things are musically. I don't know how to make sense of, like, something happens and like it comes into my mind as a lyric. Doesn't mean it's good. Sometimes I do it as a joke. Sometimes I'm so regretful of the amount of times I've been in the studio recording a song, and we stopped recording after my take, because me and engineer, who's usually my brethren, will be joking, and then the joke turns into a song, and for the next 5 minutes we're singing. It could be something rude and funny about each other, and it's so hilarious. Maybe I would have had another career doing parodies and stuff like that, or maybe it'd just been fun to listen back to. Maybe it'd have been a blooper reel thing. I don't know. But the point is, why did I do that? Because I just love it so much. It's all musical. Everything I do somehow is musical to me, whether it comes out of me or not in my head. Just everything's a song. So you can't stop me. It's so that's I don't know how else to go.
Charlie, that's so often people are just like, keep doing it. It's like, I don't know what else I would do.
Yeah.
I don't have any good answers.
That's the thing.
Like, this is what I do when I open my eyes in the morning.
Absolutely. I believe in that. If someone has to tell you to keep doing it and you're not sure if you should, you shouldn't.
Well, especially because it goes back to, I mean, this is really, really nice. But it goes back to the thing we talked about at the beginning, where it's like, in a lot of ways, if you're getting in now, you are getting into a thing where the chase is all you can expect. It is only going to be a chase and a grind and a path and whatever word, as depressing or non-depressing as you want to use. But that's a good thing. Now, granted, you're loving it. Like, you're loving developing your sense of humor, and you've come out of your shell in such cool ways since doing so much stand-up comedy. And like, this podcast is another great example, where we had a scientist on recently where we literally asked him about things that like Jess and I debate, and really intense stuff. He's like, oh wow, we're going there. We went into religion and like the existence. We're like, ready to go, bro. And that, I didn't do that to make it famous.
Sure.
I did that on, if you watch the episode, it's us literally like on the edge of our seats trying to fill our brains with knowledge and
Right.
and even talking to you right now, there's no superficial why'd you get into music conversations. That's a stupid fucking question. Like, I want to talk about the shit that makes you tick. I want to talk about what do you mean by being a father. That's none of I do none of that because it's going to make me famous.
Right.
In a lot of ways, we have this podcast to create a platform to do that. I remember before we had this podcast, I said this to you, and I wonder if you'll remember. I said, I have a suspicion that this podcast will become a thing where like I can force people to sit down and they're kind of like tied down in a weird way because there's a camera on them. They've committed to be here, and I can ask intense questions that are otherwise weird and rude.
Sure, yeah.
Because you're not supposed to pry too much about what do you mean you love your daughter? That's a weird thing to ask somebody. But here it's not. Because we're diving deep into things. So in a lot of ways, it's like that's why I do it. And then I hope that it does well so that we can have more interesting and weirder people come on the podcast.
I also think that's the best art. If it's actually real and natural and flows out. And you're not trying to emulate, create because someone else did this, so I'm going to try what they did, but it's just really you. No one else can, no one else can be a better you than you. You know what I mean? Like that. So
I do a pretty mean Daniel. I don't know. No, I don't do it.
But can you provide like an audience with something that they can't get anywhere else? And let the audience decide if you're better or worse. When I left that audition, I had decided for them that I sucked. They liked me, and that's the same thing with my music. There are people who have told me about some of their favorite things that I've done that I did not put on the list of. I remember when the Inevitable album got reviewed. Do they still do album reviews? Like even that?
Yeah, but they're mostly just for sale, I think, these days.
I saw a review, and my favorite song on the album was the song that this particular reviewer outlined as one of the downfalls of the album. Like, everyone has an opinion. Everyone's entitled to it. What's yours about what you do? I put that first all the time, man.
The weakest song on my first studio album with Fontana, a song called Always, it's the only song I put out ever that I produced myself. It's buried deep on the album. It's pretty weakly produced because I'm not a strong producer. What I make is very simple, usually has a nice sentiment to it, but it's very, very simple. But it meant something to me. The song was about something meaningful. It was about being broken, and it was like a therapeutic song.
Right.
And so I said, fuck it. As a part of the therapy, I'm going to put it on the album.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
My first ever sync. There's no reason that song should have been my first ever sync.
Right.
It's produced way worse than some of the other songs on that album.
Yeah.
But it fit the mood of a thing that those other songs didn't do.
And that speaks to my point. It's like it just came out of you. It was honest.
It was real.
You weren't trying to specifically try to make something. You just made it. And that's the approach that I'm taking on this recent. No one told me you should do an album about being a father. It's like I didn't know what else to write about, to be perfectly honest with you. Nothing else mattered. It just didn't matter. So like this is where I'm at. So hopefully
at this point you're probably good at following like the silent voice in your head that's like saying this is the next meaningful thing to write about. Like you have a good instinct about that now at this point, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
Going through many phases of your life and having a sense about what to write about during this phase.
Yeah, for sure. Because like I said to you earlier, this album to me is equal parts. I really don't care what anyone says about it.
Sure.
And I hope everyone loves it because it's so personal and important. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I hope y'all love it because this is my realist. This is my best. Yeah. Dear hip hop, I know. Trust me, this is the one.
Yeah, this is you.
But if you hate it, that's okay. So yeah, I have been able to listen to that. And that's what I'm saying. Like when I said like turning 40, I don't think it was just turning 40, but it was the actual on my birth certificate manifestation of me turning over that leaf and starting to worry so much less about the things that used to really get under my skin or bother me and all these issues I take with, I grew up in an era where hip hop did a lot of its own policing, meaning like I brought up those Fife lyrics earlier. Where rappers dissed other rappers who sucked, even though they made more made more money and sold more records. And now we're in an era where making more money and selling more records isn't something you can diss, at least on a rap record. And I'm like, really? I mean, Common not that long ago said, I could give a fuck what you made in a year, nigga, you whack. He said that on rhyme. I'm like, yeah, he's right. And he also had another line where he goes, just because I don't like it, that don't mean that I'm hating. Or he said, if I don't like it, I don't like it. That don't mean that I'm hating. So I think it's important to have these types of things as part of your own personal mindset. It's like, look, I'm not trying to be a hater, but I know what I like and what I don't like. And
it's strong character, right?
It is character because I'm not going to judge myself on let's be real. If I was going to judge my career success, this concept of making it on streams, views, sales, any other monetary numerical definition. I should have quit long time ago.
So I don't think you ever answered. What is the metric that you, when you look at it all, you look back at the career?
Yeah.
What do you put on the table where you go, no one can take that away from me? That's how I know I was successful.
It's all those moments, bro.
Yeah, it's the moments of respect. It's
not just respect. Like I said, being on stage, being off
the experiences,
all these experiences.
I love cutting the fucking animal open. So is it you got to experience these amazing moments on big stages and places where you're like, wow, I earned this spot on this stage.
For sure. Like stuff that might not even make any sense to a lot of listeners. Like I remember opening up for OC in like 99 with me and Ersk, my boys from Monolith. And OC had a big record out called Time's Up, and he was part of DITC and that kind of crew. Anyways, I think we opened up for him, and he's still to this day known as a lyricist and that kind of MC, and he's dope and was dope then. And he, after the show, he's like, yo, y'all niggas killed it with the freestyle. I can't even freestyle, which was bizarre to me. Because I grew up freestyling and all this, and we freestyle. Back then there was always a freestyle portion of our show, and what I appreciate is he took the time to say what's up, like or anything at all. Again, going back to like attitudes and where you are with making and all that. He was humble, he was cool, and he told us that we were better than him at something. You know, there's no metric for that. This is a 20-something-year-old story. This is a 20-year-old story that I'm actually only recalling as we have this. So. I can't.
Yeah, but that makes sense to me. It's those moments. You earned the moment. You earned the opportunity to be in his presence. You earned the opportunity to get the compliment, and that in itself is the trophy. Is that you put yourself in the spot and then executed so highly at the show,
right,
that you essentially did all of the right things to turn one of your heroes into a fan of yours in a way.
Yeah.
So I think that's a thing. I think that's a tangible thing to pursue, though. For sure. And this is it. Is so often we're told like, hey, young artists, here's things you can look forward to. One day you can get a Juno, et cetera, et cetera. Except you realize those are not things that you can actually earn. Right. You could get there, but you can't just earn that.
And you know what? I'm glad you raised that.
There are other things you can just fucking go out there and earn, and they're weird and nuanced, like a compliment from somebody that you looked up to.
Absolutely, man. That's what I was going to say to your point. I'm glad you brought up the Junos, because there was a time, like I said, doing records in the 90s, like there was a small pool of Canadian hip hop artists to choose from. So there was a time in the early 90s where at least I felt like if you put out a hip hop record, chances are you're going to get nominated. There's not a lot to choose from. And you would see some of the regular candidates, you know, you'd see Dream Warriors and Ghetto Concept, and then eventually Choclair, and of course Maestro, and these artists. And it made sense because they did have good records, but they were also what I felt was like this small pool. And then by the time I came in, the pool was growing and growing and growing. And bottom line is I've never been nominated for a Juno. And there was a time when you've never been nominated for a Juno was like, you know, for real, like it's a bad look. It's like I just don't look at it like that anymore. And of course there's a larger pool now, and now there's artists who are getting Juno awards that I admit I've never heard of, and it's cool. Like I'm not going to be that guy who's going to go, fuck the Junos, I don't give a fuck if I win a Juno or not. Because if I get nominated, I'll be like, yo, I got nominated.
Of course,
for a Juno.
no. It isn't,
and I will show
about
up.
Fuck the awards in all of their capacity.
Exactly. But at the same time, I'm not basing my... I've never been... Like, I got to leave here hanging my head in shame. I've never been nominated for a Juno. Hell no. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be one or the other. It's like if it happens, you can be excited about it.
Yeah, I can put it on my resume.
Now it's not happening, so you focus on other things.
Yeah, now people who never cared about me might look at that sentence and go, "Oh, Juno nominated or Juno winner, cool."
Sure, it gives you a little tiny blip of a boost, but it's really not.
Guess what's happened to almost? I'm going to say almost because I don't have any stats in front of me right now. Every single winner of a hip hop or rap recording Juno award in the history of the Junos, have they all become these mega stars?
No,
have they been, you know what I'm saying?
Point.
Like I know, and I'm not going to say names because I have respect for people's personal stuff, but I know Juno winners who have day jobs, bro, and there's no shame in a day job.
You beat me to the point I was about to make. The person I know with the most awards on the wall has probably the least amount of joy in their life. You know what I mean? It's like,
bro,
and awards everywhere. You know what I mean? There's not enough space for all of them, and it's like, and that's I learned a lot that day. I remember it was like, okay, there's so many things here I want, And I realized that I want other things more than those, and some things that you don't have, even with all those awards, you know. And so, of course, I would love. I would like you. I'm not the guy who, if I do a couple things right, and down the road in my career I catch a Grammy nomination, I will not be protesting it. You know, like I'm on board. But yeah, I am going through the cleansing process of trying to disconnect my heart from some of these plugs. You know what I mean? The plugs to my Instagram followers, and Instagram recently changed the algorithm. It's so stupid, but my story views dropped in half.
Really?
Like out of nowhere. Okay. And Jess is similarly dropped. I don't know. I'm not going to say the exact number, but like, and other people I know are like, hey, anyone else have an issue with their Instagram? And I don't know if it's for everybody, but it seems to be a thing.
Okay.
It fucked with me for a couple days because it's one of the places where I make a joke and then I get this wave of people laughing at it. And I think I'm fucking funny. So I like a place where I can make a joke and then a wave of laughter comes back from the internet. You know what I mean? Or if I post a snippet of something I'm doing in the studio, I like when my fans from me on tour are like, oh, so when that cuts, I felt an emotional impact.
I get you.
So I'm trying, and more than anything, I didn't change my social media strategy. I'm trying to change my fucking
heart strategy.
I'm trying to change, like, how does that affect me? Because I should notice it. I'm not going to win by not noticing that the numbers are changing. But I do need to change the wave of emotion that comes from the changes of the algorithms, you know? Because all it takes is one guy over at Instagram to be like, you know what, we got a lot of musicians on Instagram. Let's lower the response rate to anybody who uses words like new song, out Friday, because those are promo posts, and that's how they tweak the algorithm all the time. They do it 1,000 times a week, and for me to get upset because somebody tweaks it one way or the other is insane. And I'm a 35-year-old man.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's good and bad to it.
And I own this only because there's a lot of people at home listening who I fucking know are the same.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But that's what I'm saying. There's good and bad to it. Like, it's good to recognize that maybe I got to do something different. Like, it's me and the Spotify thing, or just over the past year getting like, look, I got to get these. It's not just about getting streaming numbers. It's about being smart with how I invest my time and money into my career, and knowing that this is where people are getting music, and again, not being necessarily upset and heartbroken, but not being absent-minded. So you can have your views, your story views cut in half and go, oh, shit, that sucks. Now, I'm not going to let it ruin my life. My art is still my art. I'm still who I am. I'm going to continue to grow and build myself as a brand. But I'm going to have to do something about this. So that is not to ignore your requirements, but it is to say, man, don't let it ruin your day. Like, don't let it ruin your day. And that is hard. Like, sorry, it's not a perfect science. We'll all have, like, even as I say all this stuff, I'll definitely have my moments of like, fuck, bro, you know, like, you're gonna have them. And it's good to have them because it shows that you care. Like, if we were all from I don't care, you know, like, it's the same thing as going, well, then why are you doing this? If you don't care.
It's the whole art thing, right? Like, I heard someone else say it where it's like every comedian sort of is saying, hey, I'm so interesting, you should all just shut up and listen to me. And they don't say that, but it's part of the social contract. And in a way, being an MC is similar. It's like, hey, I have a good take on things. You should sort of listen to it, you know? And you've seen what I've done on social media over the last couple of years. I literally took two sticks, rubbed them together, and started a fire. And like, I've lived off of that fire. I made every dollar I've ever made in the last 6 years off of people who heard about me from the internet, primarily through social media. And so as that evolves, as the internet evolves, as my role evolved, and as I grow to becoming a 40-year-old man who's going to keep putting music out, but I'm becoming the boss of a situation and not just the artist who's like the front all the time, it's a weird thing to go, it's less about me talking to every young Facebook rapper and having 200 likes on a status, which is something I would have been really proud about in like 2016 or 2017. Except now I'm chasing publishing and sync, which is quiet and you can't talk about it at all. Pays way better. Put you in the room with cooler people. I have more fun. I'm in my studio partying with my best friends. I'm having way more fun than I ever had debating on Facebook.
Oh, for sure.
But in a weird way, I'm giving up being the leader of the local music scene sort of at the same time.
Okay.
It's like, it's a give and take, because the less public I am, the less you matter in this way and the more you matter in this other way.
Yeah.
But there is this weird way where I'm like letting go of one vine and you're grabbing this other one, and it feels weird because I'm getting different payoff. Over here's a solid business.
Yeah.
I want you to come down to Heavy Ox and see what we're doing. We're building a solid actual business. But over here was all these endorphins I got from mattering and just like saying these prolific things that young rappers would like retweet and be like, oh yeah, this inspired me, and I'm losing some of that as I become this other guy. And I'm totally cool with it, but it is there is this like moment of like it's almost like an artist's midlife crisis sort of, as I become more of an executive and I become more of a leader amongst my team and less of this like braggadocious.
And that's the interesting thing. Before there was social media, you wouldn't have this issue. You know what I mean? Because you're looking at your social acceptance and you're placing a weight on it in terms of its value to you and what matters to you. And this is what I'm saying. When I was able to cross that, and we've all gone through it, me too, even pre-social media, experience that. But when you cross this certain border, for me, like for example, when I'm on set, they almost always would be like, no, nothing on social media. Like there's a lot of stuff you just can't. We can't do this yet. Wait till it's released or whatever the case is. So if you're in it for, hey, look at me. And I've seen, listen, I see a lot of actors and stuff on social media, people I know personally, people I don't know, all part of the industry. There is so much look at me. Okay. I am on set and I'm with this person and I'm like, I almost know, and I'd be surprised if the production is cool with this because I'm seeing everything you're doing. It's almost, it leaves no surprise left. Sometimes I'm surprised that when I see a movie trailer that I didn't know that this was coming out. It's amazing what people have to do now to keep secrets, sign people to confidentiality agreements and stuff like this, stay off social media. So if you're doing
the polls to post is so intense.
And that's the thing. If you have it so strongly in your head, like I need everyone to see me doing this, as opposed to when this comes out, is going to be really fucking cool. And whether you know about it or not, like I said earlier, what you'll never see on social media is the check that I received to do this. And I'm not saying, as we've been talking about throughout this podcast, it's all about the money. But I'm in this for the money also. Like you said, how happy are you to make money doing what you love? Because I've made money doing what I love, I place that above the fact that you didn't like, or I didn't even post the fact that I was on set with someone that's famous, or, hey, look at me, I'm so cool that I'm an actor in a movie. I don't care. Like, it just doesn't bother. I'm happy that I've actually done it. Like Life Changer just came out. I have a small role in this movie. I tweeted literally nothing about this until the movie actually came out. And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay if you see it or you don't see it, because I'm still in the movie and I was still paid to do the movie. So your opinion of what I've done doesn't affect me as much as my knowledge. And again, going back, my experience. It was fun to be on set. You know, I had just done a show in Ottawa the night before with Eternia and drove straight from Ottawa to set. Like, you know, I live this kind of crazy, every day is different. I'm traveling, I'm doing all this kind of stuff. Not to the extent that some others, you included, do, but I'm working. And whether you know about it or like the post about it or not, it just doesn't matter, man. It just doesn't matter.
Our really good friends that have been on this podcast, you told me this story a long time ago, and I've referenced it so many times. It's become kind of like a meme in my mind. And it's a really great thing to aspire to. Shayla and Katie, and I'm going to say it, you tell me if I'm right.
Okay.
They occasionally do this thing where they make art. And then they have like an art show in their house where they hang it, and they invite their friends over.
Okay.
And that's it. They don't sell it. They don't promote it.
Oh, wow.
It's just for the process of making the thing and then showing the people you love. And then they move on and do some other stuff. And then they do it again later. But I use this as like a meme. Am I close to right on that?
So it's Friends of Hall. It's Hollis.
Oh, it's Hollis does that. Okay, sorry. That's a place where I've not seen them do it.
Hollis and all her friends do that, and they pick a new theme every year. It'll usually be like a pretty loose theme. Like the one theme was like bear or something like that. So you can interpret it as like nude, or you can interpret it as like bare bones, or you can interpret it as whatever. And they create all different types of art, and like you'll be told like, oh, you have the kitchen or whatever, so you can put stuff. You can literally just decorate the kitchen. That's your art. Or you can make like actual canvases of artwork and hang them. So
that's doing
just
it
like
for the love right there.
That's the meme that I took away from it. Is these people literally do it just for the process of making it and showing it, and it's almost has the air of, if I were to bring up they could sell the art, it would ruin it.
Right.
That's not the fucking point.
Right.
And because I'm the other guy, I'm the asshole who always goes, hey man, let's make art, but I know how to sell it.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely.
But knowing about those people almost immediately made me go, oh, I could be a little bit more like that.
Right.
Maybe I won't be entirely like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But it like made it like the gravity of it, of even hearing that story, pulled me to a little closer to center to be like, it is about the making it. And they're actually happier than me because they're not freaking out about their fucking success rate.
Yeah. And that's it. You know, you can take pieces from all that. A little bit more like them, a little bit more. You know, I've learned from a lot of people in this industry, yourself included. I've just, you know what, like, for example, like Mocha Only, you know, that's my dude. That guy has literally more than 100 albums.
Yeah,
I don't know how it's
so much
possible,
music.
but that guy is just nonstop making me. Now, I remember doing a record with him, and I remember learning this from him. He was like, a lot of rappers take themselves too seriously. This record that we're going to write is specifically about that. And I want you to just write the whole verse right now. We're going to record it, and I want it to be nonsense. And he was doing a character, his cousin Ron Contour, so it's a Ron Contour album. And I was Danny-O's cousin Stumdog, who he made up the name based on a commercial that I had done, like, because I was in a stomach in this Pizza Pops commercial, and so I was Stumdog, and like all of a sudden, and I wrote. I was the most fun I had writing a verse, and it's the dumbest thing I've ever written. And the whole point of Ron Contour and the point of this particular record was to show that dope MCs can write dope stuff without saying anything, because we just have such an understanding of like rhyme patterns and stuff. So I was saying stuff like, you know, purple napkins hurt you plastic, like ridiculous. It didn't make no sense. And he did the same thing. And I'm like, this song is so cool. And obviously you don't do every record like that. But what I learned from that experience was, remember how to have fun making music. And be yourself. Like, he's so on his own shit. Like, no one, you know. But what I can't do, so like I said, take a piece from here, take a piece from here. I learned how to, like, a certain process of writing songs where I could just really feel it, because I was very meticulous. I'm an English major, so when I was in school, man, I would write essays and I would have all my evidence here, my thesis. Like, I was so meticulous with the way I composed things, and I would write my songs that way. I would literally have, here's the title, or at least the concept, here's the 3 things I want to nail, this will go, like, really meticulously piecing stuff, which is cool sometimes. And sometimes you just got to let that shit fly. I've written songs that have just, I don't know how I wrote all this stuff, but it just came out. I didn't prepare it. I didn't have my rhyme patterns written down first. You know, different pieces of art can be made different ways. Totally. And as I tried to learn from Mocha Only, I'm like, I can do an album a year if I have to keep this up. I can't do an album a year.
Yeah, that's not you.
So I can't be Mocha Only, but I can learn a little bit from him. I can't be Ill Vibe, but I can learn a bit from him. I can't be Maestro Fresh West, but I've learned quite a bit from him. And all of these things that I've learned have helped me to really figure out who I am, what I can do, how I'm going to do it. And I love that. You know what I'm saying? And I love doing what I'm doing because I feel like and I help people. People have learned from me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's another experience. The whole, what's in it for me, this experience. I love that I've taught people that they have been inspired somehow. That go ahead, Jess.
I was just going to say, can we call this episode The Pursuit of Rappiness?
I don't know, but I like the pun.
It's definitely talking about the pursuit of
I like the pun too. We need to get back to the table with respect to the time. But it is the pursuit of rappiness.
We are getting close to end.
All right.
I like how deep you went on this therapeutic music episode. So towards the end of the podcast, I think that what do we say normally?
I didn't mention Danny-O's socials.
Yeah.
So, if you want to check him out and put a face to a voice, if you're just listening to this, you can check him out on Instagram at Danny-O1010 or on Twitter at Danny-O10. So that's 10.
Yeah, just so you know, it's DANEO. I cannot tell you how many times, you know this, how many times Danny-O has been misspelled throughout my career. Now, it's let me just put it out there.
Yeah.
Okay, it is DANEO 1010, as Jess said, and Danny-O 10 on Twitter. But Danny-O spelled Dan -E-O.
Yes.
But don't capitalize the E and the O.
I thought it was like that for a long time.
Everyone does. To this day. This is
so it felt like, I didn't even do that in
right.
my little
exactly.
here.
So There you go. So she's got it. That's the correct
There you
spelling.
go.
And it's hilarious because, again, I have received equal parts Daniel's a legend, and they don't know how to spell my name. You know what I'm saying? So
That's just also people's
I'm just
bad
throwing
attention.
that-
That's just people's bad attention to detail. Literally,
All good.
I've been on podcasts and then they put the episode out and it says featuring Ill Vibes with an S. But there's nowhere on the internet where my name has an S.
yeah.
Unless it's from people spelling.
Yeah, like Ill Vibes coming over, I guess. Like, but yeah,
All right.
it's just like, but it's just a poor attention to detail, and you know, that's humans.
But I've gotten like I've seen Drew. I got all these flyers. Danny, like DANNYO and DAN letter I.
Danny, yo.
Danny, yeah. Anyways, Dan-E-O. So if you go to dan-e-o.com, of course you'll get that from my socials. Anyways, all of my music is available, so you will have all of the connects to.
There's an artist on
those music
Spotify with
platforms.
Danny with no dashes, so
Yeah,
you have to
exactly.
put the dashes in. Okay, this
On
is important.
Spotify, yes,
Yeah.
you do. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
there he
right.
is. Dan-E-O.
Yeah, because if you're not spelling it right, you're not getting me.
20 years later is out right now, but your album's gonna. When's your album gonna come out? The one about your daughter.
So the one that I'm currently mixing, we are expecting by the end of. Where are we? We're starting spring now. Hopefully, you'll have us by the end of summer release date.
Cool.
And like you, and again, this is something I've also had to learn over the past year. My intention is to maybe drop monthly singles over the course of the next.
That's the way to do it.
I don't know how many months, because I recognize that before this album comes out. To your point, you know, these streams, more attention, more releases, put effort into singles. So, anyways, a bunch of new releases should be happening starting at some point in the spring.
A lot of new Danny. Is new Perfect Strangers coming as well?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Now that I've finished the new Daniel album, the next one is the new Perfect Strangers album.
Fun.
So,
And when was the last? It's been a minute since the last one, right?
it has been a minute because that was 2012 when it was released. And Promise and I have never not intended to do another record. Life happens,
Of course. Family, etc.
Yeah, he became a father of 4 since our last album.
Yeah.
And I became a father too, but also he's doing stuff, I'm doing stuff. Finally, it just feels like it seems we're ready.
That's amazing. Promise and I just linked up recently via through DO, et cetera, and it was funny to bump into him in a different context and be like, it's fucking Promise from Perfect Strangers, but I always knew him as your guy, and then when you bump into him in a different context, it's always so weird. But I just relinked with Promise recently and invited him on this podcast actually, so we'll probably have him on at some point.
Yeah, very cool, man. And he's another dude. I learned so much from him too.
Yeah, really dope dude.
Yeah. And he actually helped me to really explore things artistically because we don't cuss on Perfect Strangers records. By the way, I rarely cuss on this new album too. But that being said, growth, learning, you're never too old for it, no matter how much experience you have. You gain from all these other, these experiences and from other people in the game. You have lots of that in front of you.
Wisdom.
Just enjoy it all.
Yeah, for
Take it
sure.
all in.
Soak it up, Jess. Because comedy and rap is too similar.
It's very similar.
You're about to get bruised for the next 5 years. We know all about it. So Dan, thanks for coming so much. Thank you for being such a positive factor in my music career and catalyst to so much of what we've done. The camera that we shoot this podcast with, it was literally bought to replace the camera that I bought when I met you. So it's like this building empire that starts with a camera and a perfect Strangers music video. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So thanks for coming through and being a little part of this. This is our next baby, and it's cool to have all the people we love come over and sort of co-sign it by appearing here on our Polaroid camera and stuff. We love you. Thank you very much for coming. Anything else you want to say?
Thank you so much.
Peace out, y'all.
Thank you guys.